Hello, I'm Elaine Sanchez, founder of Caregiver Help, and with me today is Brenna Baucum, a certified financial planning professional, and this is our continuing series of Life After Caregiving Going Solo. And this is the final video in this series. We may be coming back with more. But for this series, what we're going to be talking about today is the emotional and behavioral side of money. And Brenna, you have gone through this process with people that you have worked with for years and with couples, and then you see someone pass away, and you've done planning to help them prepare for this. But then when you're going through grief, um, everything is like it feels like you're in some kind of alternate reality.
Yeah.
Is what I have witnessed. And people who are normally methodical, controlled, able to manage anything, are surprised by how they are affected, even when they know, even when somebody has been sick for a long time, even when they feel relief more than grief initially. The brain on grief is something different. So let's talk about the emotional side of money when somebody finds themselves living solo and making all of the decisions. What do you see? What commonalities do you see in the people that are in this position?
Yeah, you named some of them. Absolutely. There's
Uh-huh.
a fog, for lack of a better term. There's
Yep.
a exhaustion.
Yes.
There is for many, at least at first, there's a desire to not unload their grief on others. They're just sort
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
holding it in to some extent.
Hmm.
Um, and which all of those things very normal,
Hmm.
very, very expected,
Hmm.
and have the potential to be very detrimental to your plan, to your financial plan.
Yes. Yes.
So we've talked about this in some of our other sessions of just slowing down decision making
Hmm.
is oftentimes part of my role in those moments where grief is
Hmm. Hmm.
driving the bus.
Hmm.
And there are some times where grief is in the driver's seat and we ride along for a little bit, but we don't give them the map, right? They're not going to be taking us to any certain destination, but after a little while we tap on grief's shoulder and we say it's time for you to sit back here. We're going to be in the driver's seat for now.
Okay.
So that exchange of letting it come and flow over, and
Hmm.
then also saying, I don't, sometimes I have clients who say, I don't have what it takes right now to do what needs to be done. What can
I
wait?
can imagine that. Yeah.
What can wait, or what can you do for me?
Uh-huh.
Is a question that I encourage clients to ask me of
Yes.
what can we delegate and share, not just you, but your family, your professional team. What can we all be doing to make sure that the bus stays on the road and that we're going in the right direction?
In another session, you said these three things to think about: now, soon, later.
Hmm.
And so let's talk about that and how it applies to a person who has recently lost a spouse,
Yeah.
and just how that could impact their thinking about what they have to do now. And how do you guide them through this now, soon, later process with regards to money?
Yeah, everything does feel like a priority, I think, in there are certain moments, and grief is like a magnifying glass on that, where
Mhm.
you just think, oh gosh, and I'm not doing anything, and then you're feeling shame, and then you're feeling guilt, and then you're feeling the grief, and it's just
Mhm.
this unhelpful
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
And so I do love that now, soon, later framework where we can
Mhm.
say, let's get everything out of our brains onto the paper.
Mhm.
Physically writing it, I think I do actually find to be quite helpful,
Mhm.
more than
Mhm.
typing or adding it to a list.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then sort it through what do we need to do now, what's coming down the pike, and what's later. Because usually the now list
Mhm.
is three things, maybe five.
Okay.
of what has to be done now.
Mhm.
And so that having that list in place, sharing it with someone who can help keep you accountable, I think
Mhm.
are some of the ways in which you can breathe a little bit in
Mhm.
this space and this time.
Mhm.
And the thing that's the most frustrating about grief is that it's nonlinear,
Right.
is that it is unexpected. It comes, I just read this great book to my daughter last night called Tear Soup. Have you ever read that one?
Yes, yes, I have.
Great book.
Yeah.
Highly recommend for any age and stage.
Yeah.
Um, and the idea of not saying, okay, we're to stage 2 of grief now, we're to stage 3 of grief now, but I'm going to revisit my grief as I need to, and I'm not going to shame it for existing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So then we talked in one of our other sessions about finding the right fit for your professional team and your support team.
Mhm.
And one of the things I think is happens sometimes in financial planning. Finance sometimes attracts people who are very numbers focused, right? That part of their brain is where they are.
Yes,
And when
yes.
it comes to talking about feelings, I've seen many advisors go, oh, okay, this is not, can we go back
Scary.
to talking about the stock
Yeah,
market, right?
yeah,
So that maybe is another thing to add to your list of when you're vetting different
yeah.
professionals to work with or thinking about the professionals you do work with is how do they react to real human living, human emotion, human
Mhm.
responses to things?
Mhm.
Is
Mhm.
it uncomfortable? Is it frustrating? And how do
Mhm.
you feel?
Mhm.
So
Can you share this with them and feel safe and
exactly.
not judged or criticized? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I used to work with an advisor who would, anytime someone would show any emotion, just take the Kleenex box immediately and push it at them. And I just thought, I mean, it's just a little, it's not even saying anything. It's a kind of a could be seen as a kind gesture, but I always saw it as like you're just trying to tell them to stop and that this is making you uncomfortable, like that. So those little things, again, trusting your gut on that, but that can make it a whole lot easier when you have whether it's your professional team, family, friends who are comfortable with the hard parts and don't
Mhm.
need you to put on a happy face.
I have heard you say that rather than feeling like, I'm lost, I'm confused, I'm going crazy, I, start doing the dishes and then I'm on the kitchen floor crying, or I say hello to somebody and then all of a sudden I'm wiping off my tears. And I don't know what I'm doing and I can't think straight. My brain doesn't work. I do things I don't remember and I forget to do things that I'm supposed to do. And I've heard you say that rather than saying, I don't know what I'm doing now, that you say, I'm learning something new in a hard season.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that, giving yourself permission to say, this is a hard time. I will make it through. I will survive this. But it's hard and it's going to be hard. And there are going to be days when I don't do things right.
Hmm.
And then that takes us back to the importance of having a good team, doesn't it? That you have somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust, that can walk you through this incredibly difficult process. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think you should be surrounding yourself in those emotional times with people who make you feel better by the time the
Yes.
conversation is over. You're
Yes.
walking out of that room with just, even if your shoulders have just dropped a little, even if you're still crying, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at least some level of, okay, there's at least someone else, I have a shared understanding of what is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm experiencing. Someone else gets that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Mm-hmm.
alone is a really big relief. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's funny as we're talking about this, sometimes I can imagine someone watching this saying like, I'm not going to talk to my financial advisor about, like the deepest, darkest parts of what I experience. And that's okay. You don't have, not everyone
Mm-hmm.
has to have
Mm-hmm.
a really close relationship with
Mm-hmm.
their advisor. And B, if that's what you need and want out of that relationship, you should know that that person is out there somewhere, right?
Yes.
That, and whether that's an attorney, whoever it is, to be able to say, here's who I am and here's where I'm at, and I need your help in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
you're paying this person. They should be there for you in whatever way you need. And it's not a
Yeah, yeah. You said
universal.
earlier in another session that you're kind of the quarterback.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I like that. I like that a lot. And the fact that you say, okay, you're paying this person to do this job. So don't feel badly about calling and asking for their help,
Yeah.
asking for the support, just saying, I need to take a look at this, I need help making these decisions because that's what you do.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's I think that's the only way to get to turn the grief that has you laying on the floor and
Mhm.
feeling overwhelmed is the only way from a money perspective to turn this into something better is to say, I'm going to face it
Mhm.
and I'm going to get my arms around it
Mhm.
and I'm going to learn something new in a hard season.
Mhm. And I'm going to be okay.
And I'm going to be okay. I've been through hard things
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Certainly, the people
Yeah.
watching this video have been through hard things before.
Right. Right. And I think knowing that you are going to be okay
Yeah.
is, that's the greatest gift you can give to yourself and also to the people who love you. For them not to have to be worried about,
Mhm.
what's going to happen to mom?
Yeah.
What are we going to do when she starts to, you know, kind
Yeah.
of slip or slide or, she couldn't find her way home from the grocery store. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So having these things in place, I believe, for me, it's a great comfort
Mhm.
to know that I have my team,
Mhm.
I still have my husband. I'm so grateful for that. And that if the time comes that either of us is left alone, that we have the help to get us through this hard time.
Yeah.
And so I know you're helping a lot of other people do this, and I just appreciate it so much.
Pleasure.
And I appreciate the help you've given us and that you give to others and what you're sharing with us now. So, Brenna, and before we end this, any last thoughts that you want to share?
You just made me think of one thing when you were saying for you and Alex, it's nice to know that there's a team to support. The other
Yes.
thing I would say that's of benefit is there's a person for whoever is next to that knew
Yes.
that knew you. There's some cases where I have clients where I know them and I know their kids and there's communication between them to be able to say, hey, here's what's going on, or hey, I met with your mom last week and she was sharing she's feeling pretty overwhelmed about administrative things. I wonder if we can meet and
Wow.
talk about what that might look like of how to share at her permission, of course, had that
Yeah,
conversation. But that continuity can be of great relief to
it could
the
be.
family too.
And I had never ever considered that.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. That's
Hmm.
that's an interesting, that's a really that expands this whole role a lot.
For sure.
Yeah, it does. Well, thank you. This has been so helpful in so many ways, and I hope that we can um, encourage people to wade through some of these fears.
Hmm.
The fear of um, making a plan, of hiring professionals, of spending the money,
Yeah.
investing in this now, and doing these things. I promise, once you do this and you get it set up, it's worth every penny you spend to hire the right people to make sure that you are safe and comfortable as you go through the aging process, through loss, and through your own life story. So thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank
and
you.
we'll be in touch soon.
Sounds great.